to talk a little bit more about the potential of a water wheel in Roaring Spring. No surprise there. I shifted over to the idea of a botanical garden or a garden along the idea of Tivoli in Italy in my last, or Villa d'Este at Tivoli in Italy in my last video. But I want to go back to water wheels. I've got much more to say. Um, yeah. One thing up here, you see that shiny thing? That's an aluminum bucket. Well, I haven't mentioned this, even though it's been in the video all along. That's the cardboard or cardstock mock-up of a very small 4-foot overshot water wheel that I worked on for months and now have it together to help me guide me as I build something almost identical in aluminum. And I'll say more about that later. But some things I want to say about Roaring Spring and the potential there. I need to sort of apologize to the water wheel at Laxey, Laxey. That's on the Isle of Man in Britain. And it is the biggest water wheel in the world, the highest. Now, when I say biggest, I'm talking about circumference. And it's about 80 feet. It's monstrously big. And it's beautifully maintained. I took occasion to look at another video of that place done with no words, but done in great detail, showing all kinds of things about it. And it dawned on me that is not an undershot wheel. That's an overshot wheel. The water is delivered clear to the top of that wheel. How does it get there? An inverted siphon, just like what I was talking about in Roaring Spring. Inside that white tower, it looks almost like a huge chimney. There's a steel pipe, which I haven't seen, but it's not the tower. It's not the masonry that's holding the water. It's the steel pipe, and that goes down and then takes that water up through the inside of that tower, and then goes out onto the wheel. So it's an overshot wheel. The statistics can't keep them memorized, but I think it develops, I want to say 32 horsepower. It goes around 3 times a minute, 3 RPM. I mean, it's worth taking a look at it, and I'll certainly give you a link. There are many about the biggest water wheel in the world. Roaring Spring couldn't do that. And in any case, it would just look like a monstrosity there. But Roaring Spring could have the highest water wheel or the biggest water wheel in the United States. I'm almost certain of that, because the biggest so far, I'm not talking horsepower now, and I'm not talking weight, but height, circumference, is about 40 feet in the United States. And there's several examples between 30 and 40 feet. A typical mill of like these grist mills, these old grist mills here, even with Fitz wheels, typically the Fitz wheels were often higher. They were the ones that reached 30, 40 feet. But they might have been 20 feet. There was a really high one out here in Roaring Spring on the property of New Enterprise Stone and Lime. I think they tore that mill down. I don't know what happened to the wheel, but I saw it once. So they're maybe 20 feet, or maybe not even that much. But they had enough power or enough water that they delivered. It's hard to estimate. The horsepower is not as high as you might imagine, but it was steady. In any case, yes, Roaring Spring absolutely could do that. Certainly. There's no doubt about that. And the other thing, I told you about this. Another thing I wanted to mention was, or a couple, when Old Bedford Village opened in 1976, I was the crafts program director. And I had that position for several months, but then I resigned because I wanted to go back to substitute teaching. I just missed being with the students, so I resigned. But during that time, I think I mentioned this before, I gave myself the assignment to go on a research field trip and go to Roaring Spring and drive from Roaring Spring to south to the Loisburg Gap. I'm going to say it's maybe 20 miles, maybe. I can never remember that either. And I wanted to look at how many water wheels there were. And as I recall, I counted 11 that were there that you could see. 11 within, let's say, 25 miles. And I was going to present to Old Bedford Village that they should make a map of how to get there and how to drive along that route, just to see these old mills. Most of them had the mills standing there as well. I would say maybe half of those mill buildings and wheels are gone. Well, the wheels, they're probably gone now. I should drive along that and count again. But I remember it was around 11, and I thought that's worth a tourist to drive along and just see how many mills there are that are there. Well, since then, I've come to realize that there were also 4 or 5, just a little bit to the west of that route, because I'll probably go by some of them today because I'm going to drive over to the sawmill. That's my plan today. And so there's, let's say, 15 water wheel sites that are not turning anymore. I think one at the it's called Waterside Woolen Mill. that wheel might still be turning, but it's not driving the machinery. I'm quite sure. Maybe it could. I don't know. It might be making some electricity. I don't know. I'll see. I'll see if I can take a look at that today too as I go by. So there are all those. The other thing I wanted to add is one of the huge differences between these wheels and what I'm doing is I can do them cheaply, inexpensively, not badly, but cheaply because of buckets just like that one up there. You're soon going to see some of those buckets together. I've built about 5 of them out of aluminum now, but I'm not content. My skill, my workmanship is not good enough, and I've got things to work out still. But as soon as I've got 2 or 3 that I can hook together to show you how they work, I'll show you. But anyway, that to build those buckets can all be done by hand. It could be done by students in high school at a metal shop. Easily. They'd have to do good work, but it could be done. And so these water wheels, not just the one at Roaring Spring, but the old ones that are missing, they could be restored. And it would be a project that, the Northern Bedford High School is in that very area right there. But there's also Central High School, which is at Roaring Spring, or between Roaring Spring and Martinsburg. It could be something that students and others as well could get involved in making the buckets. Here on the farm, I've got 9 places where I can build water wheels, and I will. I mean, if my health stays good and stuff, I fully intend to build 9 wheels like that. That's one of the reasons I started to work so intensely on this, because if I'm going to build 9 of them, I might as well get a good design, one that I'm satisfied with. And so I've taken so long with the design. But the highest of the ones here will be about 24 feet, between 20 and 25 feet, I think. That's a big water wheel. And I don't have any money, but I can do them cheaply. I mean, aluminum flashing is what that's built out. That's what you use around a chimney on a roof or in a valley in a roof. I need to go to a little bit stronger aluminum, and I'm going to go to valley flashing, which is twice as thick as that, but that's just like paper. So I've got these things to work out. But, a roll of that aluminum right there, which would make half the bucket, half the water wheel, costs about $50, I think. Now, aluminum valley flashing is going to cost maybe more like 70, but it's nothing. And as far as the axle, there's no welding. And the spokes wood, because it's clasp arm. It's not radial spokes except till you get to the outside. Now I've talked about this a good bit more, but the point I'm trying to make is this can be done. And you know, when people open their eyes to what fossil fuels have done to it's not our world, the world, to Gaia, to the environment, and continues to do, and they're finally going to have to wake up. It's so late in the game, but they'll see that this is a time for water power to come back, not with huge concrete dams, not to generate electricity, but for mechanical power in a decentralized way. And I'll certainly talk much more about that. So there you go. I'm going on over about these water wheels. Bye for now.